האם זה באמת סגולה בדוקה? הסגולה ללמוד בזה?
Erev Tov and good evening, everyone. We are in the Zera Shimshon on Parsha Shlach. And we're going to be in Os Beis, section 2. Before we begin the Zera Shimshon, let's take a look at 3 psukim. This is in Perek Yud Gimel, psukim Lamed through Lamed Beis. Again, Parsha Shlach, the story of the Meraglim. So Pasuk Lamed says, Vayahas Kolev es ha'am el Moshe, and Kolev quieted the people to Moshe, meaning to listen to Moshe. This is after the Meraglim came back and gave their basic report on the conditions in Eretz Canaan. Vayomer, and Kolev said, Alo na'aleh, we can certainly go up. V'yorashnu osa, and we can inherit the land, we can take control of the land. Ki yachol nuchala, because we will certainly be able to get it, to acquire it. Next pasuk Lamed Aleph. V'ha'anoshim asher alu imo, and the men who went up with him, the other Meraglim, of course this doesn't include Yehoshua, Amru, they said, Lo nuchal la'alos el ha'am, we will not be able to go up to the nation that inhabits the land, Ki chazaku mimenu, because it is stronger than us. Pasuk Lamed Beis. Vayotziu dibas haaretz, and they brought out, the other Meraglim brought out bad words about the land. Asher taru osa, that they had spied it out. El b'nei Yisrael, to b'nei Yisrael, lemor, saying, haaretz asher avarnu va, the land that we passed over into it, lasur osa, to explore it, to spy it out. Eretz ocheles yoshvehahi, it is a land that eats its inhabitants, it consumes its inhabitants. V'chol ha'am asher ra'inu b'socha, and all of the people that we saw in it, within it, anshe midos, were people of great dimensions. And the psukim continue with the Meraglim saying bad things about the land and convincing Bnei Yisrael, persuading Bnei Yisrael that they would not be able to go up and conquer the land. So now let's go right to the Zera Shimshon. Again, this is on Parsha Shlach, and we're doing Os Beis, section 2. So the Zera Shimshon begins. Vayotziu dibas haaretz asher taru osa v'chulei. This is one of the psukim that we just read, and they brought out bad words about the land that they had spied out. Haaretz asher avarnu va, and they said the land that we crossed over, lasuro saw, to explore it. Eretz ocheles yoshvehahi, it is a land that eats its inhabitants. Kosher, this is difficult. The hakol kavan nosam hayusah, their entire intention was lohotzi shem ra al Eretz Yisrael, to bring out gossip and slander on Eretz Yisrael. That was their plan from the beginning, the Zera Shimshon says. That was their intention from the start. V'lama amru zeh mitchila. So why didn't they say these words? Why didn't they come right out from the beginning and say all of these bad things about Eretz Yisrael? V'himtinu, and instead they waited ad achar divrei Kolev, until after the words of Kolev. That's the Zera Shimshon's question. So to put that into context, if we look at the psukim, it's really very striking with the help of the Zera Shimshon's question. If you go back and look at the psukim and the basic story of the Meraglim, the question will jump out and grab you. Because what happens is the Meraglim come back and they talk about their trip a little bit, but they don't say anything too terrible. They certainly don't come right out and explicitly say that Bnei Yisrael will not be able to conquer the land. And they don't say anything too slanderous about Eretz Canaan that would become Eretz Yisrael. And then Kolev gets up and tries to stop the hysteria, so to speak, and to get everyone to listen, to reason, and tries to assure everyone that absolutely, with Hashem's help, Bnei Yisrael would be able to conquer the land, and it wouldn't be any problem. And then after that, only after that, is when the Meraglim really hit their stride, so to speak, and come right out and say, We we will not be able to conquer the land. The people are of great dimensions. They're too strong for us. They're too powerful. It's a bad land, and it eats and it consumes its own inhabitants. They start really laying it on thick and speaking lashon hara, speaking gossip and slander about Eretz Yisrael. So the Zera Shimshon says, why? Why wait? Why not come right out from the beginning and say all these terrible things, since that was obviously their intention and that was obviously their goal? Why did they wait until after Kalev spoke? So now he begins to answer the question. V'yesh lomar, and we can say, De'isa b'sefer hazohar, it is stated in the Zohar, Shemoshe mosar lemeraglim, Moshe gave over to the meraglim, kavana shem hakodesh, the name of Hashem and the ability to focus on the Shem Hashem in a special, specific way. She'im yavo hakananim lahara lahem, that if while the spies were in Eretz Canaan, people who lived there, the natives of the land, the native inhabitants would be suspicious of them and come to attack them or hurt them or harm them, yichavenu vazeh Hashem, then they could focus and concentrate on this name of Hashem, v'lo yiyu misyarim, and then they would not need to be afraid. Misora shema kadisha masan la Moshe. Moshe gave over, transmitted over to the Meraglim, the Shem HaKodesh of Hashem, the holy name of Hashem. Uvegine ishtazivu minayu. And with it, the Meraglim would have been saved, could have been saved from the Canaanim, from the non-Jewish people, whichever one who lived in Canaan, of the non-Jewish nations, the 7 nations, whichever one were there, the Meraglim would be saved from them through this focusing on the Shem Hashem. So that's what that comes from the Zohar. So the Zera Shimshon continues, bottom of the column, Umeata, and from now, Ka'asher Shamu Shekolev Omar, when the Meraglim heard that Kolev said, and here's a quote from the pasuk, Olo na'aleh, we can certainly go up, v'yorashnu osa, and we will inherit it. Ki, because yachol nuchal lo, because we will certainly be able to get it. Shesofe tevos hu shem havaya. The last letters in 4 of the words that Kalev said, 4 of the critical words that Kalev said, the last letter, Sofe Tevos, not Rashe Tevos, not first letters, that's more common and more frequent and more used to looking at. The last letters of 4 of the specific words, and we'll point out those words in a moment, equal the name, come out to the name of Hashem, the name Yud, Yud, K, Yud, a Yud, a Hey, a Vav, and a Hey, or Yud, K, Vav, K, as we say. Klomar, which means to say, B'zchus Shem HaKadosh, in the merit of the holy name of Hashem, Nitzol v'nuchal lohem. Kalev was saying, we will be saved and we will be able to conquer the land. So now let's just go back and look at the words. You can see that the Zera Shimshon puts a little apostrophe before each of the letters that he wants you to focus on as being part of the Sofe Tevos, the end letters. There's the word alo, to go up. That's not one of the words where he's talking about. Next word, na'aleh. The last letter is a hey. V'yorashnu, the last letter is a vav. Osa, the last letter is a hey. Ki, the last letter is a yud. And then the pasuk continues. So those 4 words, na'aleh, v'yorashnu, osa, ki, we will go up and inherit the land, because if you take the last letters, you have a hey, a vav, a hey, and a yud. And they're a little out of order, but those are the 4 letters of the Shem Havaya. Those are the 4 letters of Hashem's holy name. And Kalev obviously chose his words exceedingly carefully and inserted, used words that would give him the Shem Hashem there, saying with the Shem Hashem, we'll be able to conquer the land. Az tekef umiyad, then immediately, the V'ha'anoshim asher olu imo amru, the Meraglim, the spies that were with Kalev said, Adarabba, just the opposite, ki chozaku mimenu, because the nation of Canaan is stronger than us. Afilu bal habayis eno yochol lahotzi kelav misham. Even the owner of the house, which is a reference to Hashem, is not going to be able to take out his items or his kelim from there. And you can see that this is a quote from the Gemara in Arachin. And what the Gemara says over there is that the Meraglim had not only wanted or not only spoke badly about Eretz Yisrael, they also spoke against Hashem, because they said Hashem will not be able to take the inhabitants of the land and to conquer them. Even Hashem can't do that. Even so to speak, the owner of the house can't get the tenants out of the house. If you want to buy a house and the owner says, sure, I'll sell it to you, he has to be able to get the present tenants out of the house. So the Meraglim said, Hashem is not going to be able, chas v'shalom, Hashem doesn't have the power to get the present tenants, the Canaanim, out of the house, meaning out of Eretz Canaan, in order for Bnei Yisrael to come in, enter the land and conquer it and inhabit it. So that's a very important part of what the Meraglim were saying. De'im isa shehashem yesh lo yicholes, because if you want to say that Hashem has the capability to do it, lama b'chol makom shehayinu holchim, the Meraglim argued, how come every place where we went, hayu meis nesiyam, their leaders would die? We realized this was a part of the plan from Hashem, that their leaders would die everywhere we went, and they'd be involved in mourning and burials and funerals. The lo yargishu bahem, and the people of the land, the native inhabitants of the land, would not notice the Meraglim. So that's a chesed of Hashem, but they took it in the opposite way, and they said, Tepuk lei, dibalav hachi hayalahem osa Hashem lezrasam. Without Hashem doing that, why did Hashem need to do that and cause all of these funerals? Without the funerals and the dying of the leaders and all of the mourning, the public national mourning, the Meraglim had the Shem Hashem. The Meraglim had the Shem Hashem to use and to concentrate on and to focus on, and that should have protected them. Elavadai, but definitely v'chule, etc. Meaning the spy said it must be that Hashem doesn't have the power, doesn't have the ability to protect us from the Canaanim. And if Hashem can't protect the Meraglim, if Hashem can't protect the spies, then certainly we're not going, the entire nation of Bnei Yisrael is not going to be able to come and conquer the land. Ve'imata omer, and if you want to say, shel olam yesh lo koach, Hashem really does have the power. V'lo mesu bishvil kach, and the leaders of the land didn't die at this particular time in order that the people wouldn't notice the Meraglim. Ela shehigia zmanim lamus. It was the natural order, and their time had come to die. Im kain, if so, if that's what you think, eretz ocheles yoshvehahi, then the land is a land that eats its inhabitants, means it's such a terribly unhealthy land to live in that people are constantly dying. Before we continue, so the Zera Shimshon tells us that the Meraglim had an argument that they were presenting, which was to say, mimonafshach, meaning either way you look at it, this is not going to work out, and Bnei Yisrael is not going to be able to inherit the land. Why? Because they started with what they viewed as a fact. Here we are traveling around Eretz Canaan, and everywhere we go, we see funerals, we hear about people dying, we see everybody is mourning the loss of important personages and leaders and personalities all over the land. That's a fact, that we're seeing that happen. Now, why is it happening? It can only be happening for one of two reasons, they argue. The first reason it might be happening is that Hashem is trying to make it so that the people of the land don't pay any attention to the spies, and we can travel around freely because they have all of these funerals to go to and all of this mourning to take care of, and they're grief-stricken, etc. But they say if that's the case, then Hashem must really be, chas v'shalom, even for saying the words, but Hashem must be weak. Hashem must not have the capability to protect us without distracting all the people of the land. If Hashem was really all powerful and omnipotent, why did he need to distract the people? Why didn't he just enable us to be able to travel around at will and not have a problem with the being bothered, harassed are attacked by the people of the land. Must be, they reason, that Hashem doesn't have that capability and doesn't have that power. Or if you tell me all of these deaths and funerals in this mourning that's going on is just the natural order, and no matter when you pop into this land, it has nothing to do with the visit of the Meraglim, the mission of the Meraglim. It's what's constantly going on in Eretz Canaan. So then the Meraglim said, then we've got a whole different problem. Maybe Hashem has the ability to bring us here, but who would want to come to a land that is so unhealthy and so terribly dangerous to live in, that people are constantly dying, and even the leaders who have normally would have the wealth and the power to have the best ways of protecting themselves and maintaining their lives, they're dying like it's going all the time, like it's going out of style. So therefore, it's Eretz Ocheles Yoshveha. It's a terrible place to want to go to and to want to live. And so therefore, the Meraglim used that argument after Kalev made his statement, because Kalev, they understood that the thrust of Kalev's statement was, it's all about Hashem being with us. And with the power of Hashem, we'll have no problem. So the Meraglim said, we were just there. And even with the Shem Hashem, we had problems according to their flawed reasoning, according to their reasoning that lacked the proper emunah and bitachon that Kalev and Yehoshua had. And now the Zera Shimshon continues. And according to the truth, what was really happening was Hashem HaKadosh Asakach. Hashem made it happen that all these funerals are taking place. Kedei lasos nisim, in order to make miracles, yoser krovim el hateva, which were closer to the natural way. Meaning that, of course, Hashem could have protected the Meraglim completely through miraculous methods. The Meraglim could have come in wearing t-shirts that said, we're the spies of Bnei Yisrael, and we're here to spy out the land, and there's nothing you can do about it, and carry placards and signs and parade it around. And yes, Hashem could have protected them derech nes, through a complete miracle, in a supernatural way. But as we know from Chazal, Hashem prefers to, even when he does nisim, even when he expands, so to speak, the natural order and supersedes the natural order, he does it in a way that's as close as possible to the natural order. And so the way to do that was to have the Meraglim come in, to have all of these public funerals, and to have the people be distracted, and so they wouldn't notice the Meraglim in that way. Had they noticed the Meraglim and had they attacked the Meraglim or planned to attack the Meraglim, of course they would have been protected. That was the whole reason that Moshe Rabbeinu gave them, according to the quote from the Zohar that the Zera Shimshon gave. That was the whole reason that Moshe Rabbeinu gave them the Shem HaKadosh to focus on and to meditate upon. But Hashem wanted to have their tour around Eretz Yisrael and their spying mission take place with a less open miracle, with a miracle that's closer to the natural order. And that's the real reason why the different people were dying specifically during the time of their visit. So what the Zera Shimshon is saying is that the Meraglim took a fact, a reality, but their interpretation of it was lacking in the appropriate bitachon and the appropriate trust in Hashem. And they said, we take this fact and we analyze it and we come up with two conclusions which are both bad, and therefore this project is not going to work. And that's what they were able tragically to convince their brethren Bnei Yisrael about. And Kalev and Yehoshua, who tried to say, no, the key to everything is that Hashem is with us, and therefore no matter what, we'll be able to conquer the land, were sadly and tragically not listened to. Yasher koach to everyone for participating in the Zera Shimshon learning this week, and God willing, we look to getting together again to learn Zera Shimshon on next week's Parsha.